And we're live with the largest WP Minute roundtable we've ever had. Everybody, welcome back to the WP Minute, youtube.com/@WP Minute. It's the New Year's 2025. It's the first live stream that we've done here. Mark's done about 16 of them since the new year, since the turn of the calendar. We're going to hear from him and the other fabulous panel in a moment, talking 2025 WordPress predictions. If you're in the chat, go ahead and say hi, throw in your predictions, and then maybe at the end of this roundtable, as we go through, we'll have a little bit of Q&A talking about the stuff that the panel shared in today's live stream. As always, the WPMinute.com/subscribe. Join that mailing list. It's the number one way to stay connected. And by the way, have a little New Year's it's a prediction, but it's also an announcement, right? So I announced at the end of 2024 that I'm the new owner of MasterWP.com. Now, happy to say, if I can find the share button here, that you can get early access to a new project that's coming soon. That's what I have right there. It's a blank landing page because I'm such a professional. You can visit cmsminute.com for a sister publication to the WPMinute.com and join that mailing list over there, cmsminute.com. Can anyone guess what the CMS Minute is going to cover? Hearing none? Content management systems. That's what we're going to cover at CMS Minute. We're going to go around the world and look at places like Ghost, Statamic, Expression Engine, Squarespace, Wix, Drupal. We're going to cover everything and a little bit of WordPress on the CMS Minutes podcast coming soon. Got a few episodes already in the can. Check it out, cmsminute.com. Literally nothing there, but if you want to know when I launch it and when the first episodes come, sign up. Hit the little red subscribe button, upper right-hand corner, cmsminute.com. Let's kick it to Brian Cords. Brian from California. Where can folks find you? Let's get all the thank yous and kudos out of the way first for the panel. Brian, where can folks find you on the web?
Wait, first of all, why Ghost? Why Ghost for CMS Minute?
This is why Brian's. He knows, right? He knows. Let me kick it back to my share screen here. CMS Minute brought to you by Ghost. John O'Nolan and I have collaborated on this little venture. He is the premier sponsor of CMS Minute. If you want to sponsor, reach out to me, cmsminute.com. That's your answer, Brian.
Thanks. You can find me at briancords.com right now, X, Blue Sky, Mastodon, YouTube, all those sorts of things. And recently podcasting at webmasters.fm. And this week was a fun one with a developer more over at WebDev Studios. Next week I have a really fun AI one coming, a few other cool conversations already recorded. So, yeah, that's where I am.
My third musketeer, who also likes to get named in legal court documents, Courtney Robertson. Courtney, welcome. Where can we find you?
Whoa. Wait. I'm sorry.
Besides in the courtroom.
Apparently, yes. That CourtneyR.dev is my main website. You can find all the links to my socials there. I am CourtneyR_dev or -dev on all the social platforms. Happy to connect with all the people.
New co-host of the show, Brendan O'Connell. Brendan, where can folks find you?
Well, thank you for having me. My website's brendan-o'connell.com. No apostrophe, because that's a dying breed on the internet. I have a small YouTube channel. I do agency work. You can find links to my socials.
Mark Szymanski, the man who just bought himself his first set of luggage to venture across the country. Where can folks find you?
It's a busy travel year, Matt. Come on, man. Yeah, so Mark Szymanski, mjs.by. You can find all my links and everything there. I make content. I try to educate people when I can. I like to learn, try, share everything. And I do just want to point out as we get started here that I feel like you're moderating a little battle between Pennsylvania and California here. 2 PA residents, 2 California residents on this thing here. So I might have a little bit of a...
Go Pennsylvania.
Yeah, PA, Team PA.
This is true. Does anyone follow
Mark, where
college
are
football?
you?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
College football?
The whole conversation is, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
I guess it's
Pittsburgh, dog.
Pittsburgh. Oh.
Let's do it.
Like I mentioned at the top of the show and in the title, we're talking about 2025 WordPress predictions. We see some folks, or I see some folks in the chat. I'm going to pull up a blog post that I recently put out, and we're going to cover some of my predictions. We're going to go around the horn and cover our panelist predictions. I'm going to drop this in the chat as well after I stop talking about it. You can go to the WPminute.com homepage. You'll see some pictures. You'll see an image of a cloud that forms the number 2025. You can click on it and see this. I'm going to skip the first two predictions because we want to keep this conversation pretty tight and interactive. I'm going to go to my third prediction of 2025 that I put out here on this blog post, and that is the playground is the future of WordPress. And I kind of tucked in another prediction inside of this section as well that says, hey, look, WordPress is probably going to get better year after year, as it always does, better subjectively, 5%, 10% better, whatever that is. But I think the future of WordPress is going to start in the playground. In other words, when you go to WordPress.org and the first steps will be, hey, start playing with WordPress in your browser before you even download anything. If you're a new user, this is obviously a fantastic way to trial WordPress without downloading anything. If you're an existing WordPress user and you don't want to mess up your website, I think the playground is going to be a fantastic way for folks to start playing with things, obviously without breaking. It's quite technical now. There's still some hiccups. I do run into some issues with the playground, but I think that's going to be the driving technical feature product of WordPress in 2025. I think Automattic's going to invest a lot into that throughout the year. Thoughts, comments, suggestions on Playground being the de facto experience for WordPress moving forward?
Playground is kind of becoming that because they're using it for WordPress.com's local development app, Studio. So, and that's getting closer to being matching features with, WP Engine's local WP tool, and we'll probably catch that. You can use Studio or Playground to build mobile apps with WordPress as like the engine running it. I think that's an exciting place. I think a lot of those things are going to be great. I think the idea that people will go to see Playground and try WordPress is I'm not excited about that one, mainly because WordPress does not have a great onboarding experience. Hosts have a great onboarding experience. GoDaddy has an onboarding experience. WordPress core by itself, not a great onboarding experience. So if they don't solve that, then opening up WordPress, a few seconds faster is still not going to help if you're just immediately thrown into, the non-onboarding. But otherwise, yes, I think Playground, I agree with you on Playground. I think you're going to see more and more Playground stuff coming from Automattic.
I think kind of tied with that, we'll see some of the hiccups that SQLite offers versus more traditional SQL being resolved. So right now we know that there are a couple of times where if you're running Playground and you go to do some testing of new Gutenberg features or something, go reproduce it in a traditional environment before you log that ticket or issue, because sometimes the difference between how the server side is working can be where the bug is. And I think we'll probably find some parity where some of those weird edge case things that SQLite does that traditional SQL doesn't do, that will get resolved from a user perspective. And I think also we'll probably start seeing some more places besides just WordPress.com having their own versions of Playgrounds, and perhaps maybe some more dev tooling to go with it. So I'd love to see some integration right inside of something like Playground that would help the mid-range devs with some of their Git commits. Right? Like we could still do it, but I would love to see a bit of a middle range ground where folks that like to get into the code a bit, but don't want to get overwhelmed with the code, don't want to dabble in command line to send their commits in and all of that. I'd love to see a little bit more integration in that area.
Mark, there's always things in the nuance zone. What are your thoughts on Playground?
I've used it here and there. I think the concept of Playground is fantastic. I love the idea. I think you mentioned it when I listened to your blog post because I didn't read it.
It better have been in my voice. It better not have been some AI generated.
I kind
add-on
of
that
use
you
it
have.
to I use it to go to sleep. It's very soothing. You have a nice voice. So anyway, when I was listening to it, I completely agree with what you're saying. I wish more SaaS products did give you like full reign of access, but I agree with what Brian said too, that I'm not sure if that's really going to like move the needle, because it's going to be a different experience. There's a lot more overhead, especially if you want to deal with like .org, your .org style that we're accustomed to, rather than like a .com type thing. So I mean, I'm very bullish on the idea of Playground. I'm even more bullish on the concept of a playground, regardless if it's WordPress or not. But specifically for WordPress, I think it'll, if done properly, and like Courtney said, like maybe different instances of playgrounds, different like setups. I mean, I think you can already do that, right? You can kind of like set up like little almost templated playgrounds or blueprints or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to continue to evolve and get better. I do think that's a shining star of the whole experience right now, for sure.
Brendan, I look to you to be the pass or fail guy on this call. Does this a prediction pass or fail?
Yeah, I'd say that passes. I mean, Playground is a really interesting concept. I think it has a lot of potential. It still kind of throws me off with the sort of Inception vibe of the different browser windows, but like everything in WordPress, it moves a little bit slower, but it'll get there. And I'm pretty excited for that prospect moving forward. So I'd say pass.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's go to the wheel to see who's next on the prediction. I'm going to spin the wheel. My name is excluded from this list. Let's spin it and see who's next to share their prediction. Oh, the man himself, Brian. Go ahead and share your prediction.
I have a couple predictions. I have more anti-predictions, my list of things that are not going to happen in 2025. But I'll give a positive prediction. I think that we will see WordPress core finally this year really push more towards the agency market, the agency developer. I think we'll see a lot more doubling down on that versus the DIY beginner blogger. At least I wrote that before there was the whole we need goofy designed themes argument online, but which is really like undermines my whole premise.
Keep us in the lane, Brian. Keep us in the lane. We don't want anyone knocking on my Slack door asking to come on the live stream.
I do think that they're seeing the value of agencies, of advanced workflows, of things like that. So I think Studio, like I said, is a good example of getting something more powerful. So my big prediction is we're going to see stuff in full site editing. They promised responsive design is coming. I don't necessarily believe them, but the fact that they're at least open to it is a big positive step for agencies. So power tools, agencies, that sort of stuff. That's my big prediction.
Do you think this goes into that territory of like, who is WordPress for finally getting solved in 2025, or at least leaning in that direction? It's going to be for the agency / developer more poignantly moving forward?
I think that there is a hosting company that was very good at wooing agencies, and that hosting company is now not really allowed to be part of the community, and there needs to be a place for those agencies to go. And I think a lot of us were probably not super happy with that hosting company anyway, regardless of 2024's events. So I think it's an open market, and I think any company would be foolish not to pursue agencies, people who launch lots and lots of websites, who advise people on where to spend their hosting dollars. I think it's a smart move.
It's like my legal bills just go up when you're around, Brian. It's just it's going to have a lawyer on retainer when I have you on the call.
Did I say anything?
Anyone else? Anyone else want to comment?
Just calling out that he said wooing. I don't know if that was a hint at anything. No, not really. I think along the lines of agencies, I don't want to reveal what mine is when the wheel comes to me. But I think, yes, that we'll see a big push more towards, I think over the last couple of years, we've seen a push toward agency culture and what part subcontractors can also play in that process. I think that we'll see more tooling, more part of my DevRel world, more of the developer user experience throughout all hosting providers of what do devs actually need. And that kind of dovetails a little off of Playground and having various versions of Playground set up.
Mark or anyone else want to comment?
I got a quick one. I'd be interested to know like why that's more of the case. Like I agree with the premise there that we'll probably see more of that because it's kind of been hinted at here and there. I'm not sure if it's just like I always like wonder if like it's kind of like money related, not like WordPress.org specifically, but just like kind of the apparatus of Automattic. If there's like, do we see more money? Like, have we never seen the opportunity that agencies and freelancers and everything like that provide, and was just going kind of more the DIY route and marketing there, or just like, you know, kind of assimilating ourselves with that or associating ourselves with that. So I'd be interested in like kind of like if we could ever get more reasons why that like this is the case, that now we're thinking about, you know, things as simple as you know, responsive design and all that sort of stuff to cater to them. I do my hypothesis there is that other platforms are doing it now as well. Like, I mean, you see it like Wix is upping their game, Squarespace is upping their game, like they're all doing those. And regardless, they're not like huge competitors. Obviously WordPress is huge right now, but like I just think other people are doing it, and it's like, oh, they're not just for DIYers anymore. And I think that might play a small bit in the factor, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I think it's a good prediction.
Really quick for a way to think about this. Are we predicting what we want to happen or what we think is going to happen?
Either way, I'll take it. It's content.
That's easy.
Shameless.
Easy.
I'll play the heel, the devil's advocate here, and think,
Sure.
say that that's not going to happen. We're not going to get any of those features we want. It's going to be a slow race to the bottom.
Love it.
So
I changed my prediction.
the counter that's in there is that I feel like the web dev industry as a whole has to grow up a little bit more, dare I say, because of litigation, not just WordPress drama litigation, but more along the lines of accessibility is now sweeping throughout Europe as part of the EU's rulings that sites must become more accessible. The idea of a DIYer being able to just get up and running and meet compliance, I think we're going to see America pick up roughly where the EU is. We'll start seeing things more like ADA, but for the web here in North America as well. I just feel like there's parts of building your website where even small businesses will be a little more attuned to the fact that they can't be the experts of building their website and running their business. I think that that's just a continual evolving process.
I didn't
I'm gonna go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was just saying I didn't intentionally say Woo, but I think Woo is a great example of you know, their focus on accessibility, how much they've invested in Amber Hines' team to make different changes. And you should also read Bo, the head of engineering there, his sort of 2025, we're going to spend the year cleaning up and making the platform itself better and bringing in more functionality and power to it. So, I mean, I think the signs are there with Woo, with Automattic for agencies, their new sort of initiative. There's a lot of that stuff definitely happening out there, I think. And like Courtney said, like they're going to be taking a lot more responsibility as a platform to, you know, to have to provide accessible and secure solutions. And that's not something that they can just kind of kick down the road, you know, inevitably.
If you're just in the crowd watching and you have your prediction, go ahead and throw it in chat. We'll talk about it towards the end or in the middle of this conversation. I'm going to go to my next prediction because it's my show. I don't need to spin the wheel to get to myself. Number 4 in the blog post at the WP Minute is Automattic cuts the product fat. This is one that Brian thinks I am too wishful thinking and does not think it's going to happen. But if we just look at the portfolio of products that Automattic has, stuff that I don't even remember, stuff that I don't even know probably exists. But if we just look at the ones that are kind of more well-known, Simple Note, Long Reads, Tumblr, CloudUp, Beeper, Pocket Cast, Day One, as I mentioned in this post, that list does go on. There's their Stats app, right, which is in VIP and I assume is treated with like a product. I just think that a lot of the stuff that we've seen happen in 2024, as we've seen from leadership or from Matt, just far too much stuff going on at Automattic. They need to cut the fat in order to double down on WordPress. The sort of mantra these days is, hey, Automattic's here to defend WordPress. We saw that with Mary Hubbard's speech. We've heard that through a lot of automaticians that have supported Matt's recent mission here towards the end of 2024. And if Automattic is the place that is allegedly the only ones really defending WordPress, allegedly, then double down on making WordPress better. Get rid of this other stuff. What are we doing with Tumblr? Or what are you doing with Tumblr? What are you doing with messaging apps? I get the idea of it, but man, I've seen it time and time again where too many products get too many product companies start spreading themselves too thin. It's the kiss of death for products. I think Matt knows that. I think that's part of the stress factor here. And in 2025, we'll see him cut the fat at Automattic to double down on WordPress. Kick it to you first, Brian, since you think I'm wishful thinking. Your thoughts?
I think in a recent interview, Matt said that he was done with big acquisitions, that he has the domains where he thinks open source is most important: messaging, the web, open verse and content, and some other stuff, podcasting and stuff. So I think maybe we'll see a slowdown, and I think that messaging push was really a lot because those were some big expensive companies, for sure. But I just do not see Automattic's culture as a company being less is more. And, it's such a decentralized company. It's such a, there's so many different ways, and look at Playground is the great example of like letting people just explore crazy creative avenues and finding weird new things that they wouldn't have found otherwise. So there's like a benefit to that, like lack of focus a little bit, and that freedom that a lot of the people there have. But I don't see, it would be a huge cultural shift for them to say, wow, we're going to actually streamline and focus our attention on one, product or user. So I just don't see it happening.
Brendan, do you agree with Brian this time?
I think I probably do. I think that we saw the acquisition of the WPAI, I guess the AI agency, and they brought in their whole team there. And I would expect that we see something more, on that end of the spectrum. But I mean, I would like again, it's one of those things like, is it what we want to happen or what will happen? And that's where I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, I guess.
Mark?
I think from my perspective, over the last, whatever, it's been 5 months since we were on ground zero, it's the common perspective that I see, maybe it's just like the loudest, is that people have left Automattic obviously because they don't agree with the culture. A lot of people don't agree with kind of like what's going on there, even if they're still in the community and haven't left. So those things, the change in literal physical situation there, where maybe there's just less workforce and stuff, and they're trying to rehire and stuff like that, just throughout the business. I'm not exactly sure because it's an apparatus how it all works, but that if we take that information, we apply it to this scenario right here, and then just also extrapolate on like kind of like what Matt said and kind of how he is and stuff, I think that there's a low chance of this actually happening. Like maybe they won't acquire more, but I don't think they're going to cut fat unless they need like some sort of cash, or like they need to offload for any sort of reason to pay any sort of bills or anything like that, or just to even fund more of the stuff that they're trying to do to make WordPress better. I feel like, this may be a hot take. I feel like from everything that I've heard, not even a lot of, I feel like it's been, like everything's been about WordPress over this last time. And I'm not talking specifically about, I don't want to get in specifically to like the drama stuff, but I feel like everything has been about WordPress, but it's been more about open source. And when we talk about the portfolio, it sounds like that is more of the thing. So I'm just saying, like, I don't think the goal is WordPress. I think the goal is open source. And if you cut some of the fat that is related to open source, I don't think that that's in line with Matt and whoever, Automattic in general is kind of, wanting to go. Like, I feel like they would literally feel like they're sacrificing open source stuff or not protecting open source if they got rid of like other stuff that is open source adjacent, not just web related. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one.
Courtney, before we spin the wheel, any closing thoughts?
I'm still a big question mark about Tumblr's value prop. the organization, knowing that it is a loss leader significantly. I think that that puts more heat on everything else, the other parts of Automattic, to be that much more profitable, to sustain that year over year. Tumblr is not a money maker for them. It'll be interesting to see how that shapes up, basically.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, my closing thoughts on this is I think that money is available to Automattic, and they need to continue growing. They probably still need to get outside investment, and I think they're not going to be able to do it unless their investors or potential investors see them really focusing on their core value. Let's spin that wheel for the next prediction. You can't hear the sound, but it's making funny, fun little clicking sounds. And looks like it's Courtney. Courtney, you're
Hi.
up. Your prediction.
Contributions are shifting. We already know that is true. Right before the break, I am a co-founder of the WP Community Collective, and we had announced a new structure. Essentially, it means stuff for the IRS. But in the past, we weren't able to collectively fundraise and put money into the hands of people that write code for open source, because that's a no-no under the type of method that we were organized under. Although that other method did allow us some really cool flexibility with, we were able to fund all table leads at WordCamp US that were not otherwise employed. That was a partnership between my GoDaddy hat and my WPCC hat together. Those that were not work expensing being on a trip to WordCamp US got funded to be there for that day, a small portion of their probably overall expenses. Still, it was something. But as I look into the year ahead, maybe with a little insider info that I have, I think that we'll see both the community rally for funding contributors differently than it has before, as well as corporate organizations also doing so, and filling in some of these areas of the project that we know just need a lot more reinforcement to continue diversifying what the contributor base looks like. I think, though, that you'll see kind of the same impact of that is that those that are not funded, and something I want to be very mindful of right now, we have a lot of folks that have stepped back from contributing for various reasons. And I don't want this to touch into the drama any more than it must, to sort of address the fact that I do think that it's a struggle for the North Americans and the Europeans, especially, that are contributing, that want to contribute, but are backing away due to the drama. I think that we'll see some more contributions pick up in other parts of the world as a result, because the people will always step forward to take care of the things that they're passionate about doing, sometimes because they want to be funded and sometimes just because they are. So, for instance, right now, we're seeing that in Asia, parts of Asia, we're seeing a lot more growth of contributors, especially in India, Pakistan, a few nations in that area. So we're seeing people step up more, which is great. We need to continue addressing the reasons why, though, that some people have had to step away. It's totally fine. I stepped away for a number of years for family stuff, and that was great. And I came back when it felt like it was right for myself, right? Not right for this, that, or the other person. But as an unsponsored contributor, I took a chunk of time away to do what I needed to do in life. I think that we'll see just a slight plug. Hopefully it's okay on the WPCC. I think that we'll see a lot more activity in our as we're heading into year number 3 of being an organization. We just passed our 2nd anniversary of being an organization. So this year ahead is technically our 3rd year as operating. And I think that there's a lot of community growth that will happen there. I think that relates to pockets of communities as well, that was in your prediction post.
Yeah, one of the things I predicted, again, you can go to the original blog post to see the rest of it, is community becomes communities, where now we're looking at these camps of contributors or people who are just still interested in WordPress, but they're just like, you know what? I don't need to go into the formalities of Make, of Meetup, of WordCamp. We can talk about this stuff outside of those boundaries. And I want to pose this to the group based on Courtney's predictions of contributions changing or maybe even evolving. Well, I mean, contributions don't always have to be writing code, right? It doesn't have to be something where you're actually deploying code towards WordPress. Let me go to Brendan first. Brendan, your thoughts on ways folks can still contribute to WordPress, but I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So you can tell me how you think you want to contribute to WordPress. I'll just quickly say is I think people will say, you know what, that WordPress thing is over there. I still like it. I'm going to contribute by educating people and showing people how to use this thing, but I'm not going to fall into the formalities or the politics of this game anymore. That's my particular stance. I think people are going to contribute in those ways. But Brendan, your thoughts on folks contributing to WordPress in 2025?
Yeah, it's like you're reading my mind, because that's basically what I do. I'm not, a developer traditionally, I guess, by any stretch. And so I'm not going in the code, but I'm contributing in other ways. And, at least I feel like I am, in terms of educating, onboarding people, going to meetups, talking with people, helping address their concerns with WordPress. I think those are super important contributions, because most people are not at that coding level at all, and are not building, complicated CI/CD development sites for clients. And so I think we'll see that. It's already been the case, and that's why, to me, it's like, wait, hasn't this already been the case with like fractured communities and less of a top-down approach? That's sort of been my impression and experience in this already. So I think that definitely will track going forward.
Brian.
I mean, I think the project itself, I think it's pretty clear that Automattic is consolidating some power and making some choices, putting people in charge of things like the YouTube and the marketing, putting people in charge of releases and things like that. I think that's probably, honestly, I'd probably say like not the worst thing in the world to see them take a firmer hand, as long as there's a direction laid out. That's fine. Are people going to think about, well, why do I need to make it a WordCamp when I can just make a private event? I think that's going to happen a lot more. So I think you are going to see a lot of that. I think our people are going to say, do I need to distribute my theme and plugin through .org when I can just do it myself? What's the value trade-off there? So we're going to see a lot more of that happening. So that's what happens when you squeeze something so tight. Sometimes you do lose some things through your fingers. And so we are seeing that a little bit. But it's also kind of a natural thing that's going to happen, because WordPress core itself is struggling to define its actual value proposition in the world of like low code and AI. It's really struggling to say why I would use WordPress for things nowadays that I don't really need to anymore, or say like an LMS, or say like a automation or anything like that. So it really does need to kind of like define that, because people aren't going to contribute if they don't really like have it, providing value for them as well. So yeah, I think we are going to see, like you said, a little fracturing of the community, and maybe that's fine, and maybe we'll learn more from it.
And Mark, somebody like yourself who over 2024 has learned, I guess, what it's like to contribute, or at least the different factors of contributing to WordPress has, I'm sure this whole experience of 2024 has certainly changed you, but I'm curious of your thoughts on like how you now perceive, and I'll even take a step back. Like I remember when we first started chatting, it was a lot about like, when people are going to contribute to this thing and not get paid, like that still doesn't make sense to me. That was early 2024. I'm just curious of like how you maybe have maybe a different view on contributing to WordPress these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a journey. I feel like we're still having a semantic battle over what the word contribute means and what a contributor is.
Yeah.
I look at myself, I look at, guys like, Brendan, so many other of us that are making YouTube content, and educating masses, and like literally telling people to use WordPress, or like showing people how to do things they would never know how to do, and they might like fall off and go somewhere else, for instance. I feel like that's some level of a contribution. I just don't ever have, I've never really gotten the vibe that that's a true contribution from actual Automattic or Matt or whoever you want to assign to like the person that says that. So that's just one thing to me, is like I feel like we could have these, kind of like segmented out communities and we could all be contributing, but is that like a true contribution? I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that that's the way that I think. I kind of like want to have an objective truth to that to some degree. And I'm not sure if I don't think we have that. I don't know if we're going to get that. I actually think it's probably going to go, we might start getting an objective truth, but I don't know. I'm kind of black pilled on that. I think it's going to be more like less, like if you want to contribute, and I'm out of my depth a little bit here, so I defer to Brian, Courtney. I've literally been on one contribution thing is because I was like jagging Matt in the comments of the thing that he told Brian to do. So like, I don't know like what that actually manifests into from a contribution standpoint moving forward. Are we going to see scenarios where like, even if you have people that are contributing and want to contribute, that they're still not able to get things through because they don't align with what the Automattic wants to do? Again, I'm not even painting that as a terrible picture, because if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. I feel like we kind of have to adapt. We're at some level of mercy to some of the things, but I kind of just see that, to Brian's point about consolidating power, I see it kind of, that would be my prediction in this case. Like that's kind of where I see it going. So I don't know.
So there has long been a very hard delineation. Like, what is contributing is just writing blog posts and newsletters and podcasts and all of these things. And at one point, there was a really good map that someone had put up on, I think it was like a make/updates post about the ecosystem, and that within the ecosystem, there are the extenders, and the extenders are those that are using the software, maybe not contributing directly to the software. So with the software, by that, I mean, it could be the translation team. There is an official team in the project that does translation work. And for those of us that are, I think everyone here is English first as our primary language, but more of WordPress is used in not English than is used in English. So that team is very important. And people shouldn't have to know English to learn WordPress is a strong held belief that I have. But there are other teams as well. And so there are lots of ways to contribute that are not code. And I am a big advocate of when you start getting that itch to say, why does this thing do that? Well, go look up and log an issue or a ticket, or see if someone else already has done that. Or, if you feel like I could help just a little bit, do a thing. Find the team that needs that little thing that you want to help get done for the purpose of the project. That is not the only part of what it means. And so there was an article, pardon, I am forgetting the name of the individual that owns yawp.foo as the website. I forget his proper first name, but I've seen him around a post status and a few other places. He talks about the idea of free riders and the idea of tending the commons and the fallacies of these arguments, basically saying that it's since been discovered that having an abundance of users, having unlimited seats on the bus is actually a good thing, because it is minimal cost to continue redistributing the open source that is WordPress. And the more people that are using it, the more you find the things where people have the itch that want to improve the thing. Now, that does not mean only in the context of the project itself, right? So many of our WordCamps began before the Foundation and WordCamp Central were a thing, I believe. Foundation, I might be mistaken about, but WordCamp Central, the place that officiates what are approved meetups and approved WordCamps, we were having WordCamps before that was a thing, and I was at them. So I think that we'll see some more of that type of activity happen, and I do believe that that is contribution, although it may be niche contribution, and there might be people profiting specifically because they are doing a conference that is not at minimum cost, right? They're charging what business conferences are worth. And I think that that's going to be still very viable and valuable information. The audience of those is not necessarily the same audience as who shows up at a WordCamp where it's everything for everybody. So I think that we'll see some more of that niche breakdown. And I do still find that that is part of contribution. Now, does that count as contribution if you're looking at, am I contributing enough to the project? Right? Like if you're a business dependent on the project, well, maybe you can, I want to not mention WPCC, but I love one of the people that contributes to WPCC. She pays what's equivalent of a premium license for an agency. She gives that money to WPCC. Did so the first time when we launched the Accessibility Fellowship, because her business rides upon that. And so she gave something that was still a decent amount of money, but wasn't going to break the bank for her business as a give forward. I can't do the labor, but you can find people that can and that are specialized and compensate them for that work. And I think that was just beautiful.
We're making good time, but we're going to go back to the wheel to spin it for the last two contestants, because I think that my prediction might align with
I like this.
One of my predictions. So I think wherever this coin lands, I think it's going to be touching on my last one here. So let's go ahead and spin it and see who we get on the wheel.
It looks
of
like
destiny.
a homemade CD.
Oh my.
Oh, it's Mark Szymanski.
This is your guys' hip-hop album. That's what it looks
Brendan
like.
can go if he wants. Why he put pictures? This
No,
is
let's
an
go Mark
impressive
Szymanski.
spinner.
I mean,
Look at that
Mark
picture.
Szymanski,
This
your
mugshot.
prediction 2025.
Bro, I got too many predictions. I don't know what to say here. I mean, I'll try
And just so everybody knows, we're going to do a rapid fire of everyone's predictions. We're going to go down the line because I know everybody has a lot of thoughts, and I told everybody prepare 3 to 4. But Mark, go ahead, your prediction, and we'll break it down.
I don't know. I'm gonna blend two here because that's all I think about. I wrote literally AI or die. That's literally what I wrote, and I think it's because I am so black pilled on the idea of just web design at this point, because everything is becoming so easy. But easy isn't the right word, but fast, quick. Obviously, Matt has had his documented stint now in AI land after saying AI is no, and then he codes in his basement for 10 days with AI, and he's like, this is amazing, I could build anything. But he saw that obviously that it's not perfect. Like, you can't just spin up Amazon on AI. But what I'm saying is it's getting so better so fast, so much better so fast. And I think that as a literal person in this industry, like a web designer with an agency, kind of doing other stuff now as well, I'm just seeing and I'm taking it all in. And I'm like, there is no way that I would build a web design agency right now. I wouldn't start one because there's too many other things that are moving too fast. And it's not actually that you can't build websites right now. It's not that you shouldn't be building on WordPress. It's not that you shouldn't be just building websites. It's the fact that I think there's so many people out there that need websites or want websites, and they're seeing just the tip of the iceberg, just the sexy information about what Claude can do, what ChatGPT can do, and all these things. And they watch one video about how to build a website with AI in 2 seconds for free. And they're like, why? I feel like we're at an all-time high with the level of commoditization that this industry has come to. At the same time, though, we have what Courtney said a couple minutes ago about accessibility being a really big thing and kind of being downplayed in certain areas, upplayed in other areas. And we have real concerns that professionals, people that actually, not even professionals, people that care and are in this space need to understand and do as a service for clients. So I just think, to summarize there, if WordPress doesn't, and WPAI, the acquisition, that should help. But if WordPress itself doesn't realize that that's the case, and integrate more of that to compete with these other tools that are making it so easy for everyone, I think there's going to be some issues there. And just in broader terms, though, I think that the idea of open source needs to be, we need to somehow, in that same vein, bring that back to the fold and be that is the thing that you absolutely want. Again, I mentioned off camera, I was on Squarespace Enterprise call this morning. Way more impressive than I thought it was going to be. It's not WordPress, but it's way more impressive than I thought it was going to be. And it's just people just see that sort of stuff. They see the AI, they see the buzz stuff, and it's almost like we don't have enough time to educate them, because I like to talk and I take too long to explain what I'm saying. So I don't know. That's my personal perspective on that. I really think it needs to happen. And moving in 2025 is just going to keep getting, the snowball is already rolling. We're halfway down the hill.
Yeah. I mean, that was going to be my prediction. That's sort of my top one, right? Is some kind of AI story that's going to be told in 2025. I think we saw, we had the acquisition from James LePage to bring that into core. Maybe it's going to be a canonical plugin or something like that. I don't know. But particularly the open source aspect of it, because everyone's familiar with ChatGPT. A lot of people are familiar with Claude. Those are not open source models. There are some really great open source LLMs out there, like Olama. China just released DeepSeek 3 a couple weeks ago, and it's tremendously better, I would think, than these closed source models. They're cheaper to train, they're cheaper usage for the end user, and they're pretty darn good. So I would like to see some kind of partnership, some kind of alliance between open source WordPress and open source LLMs. So
I noticed
just throwing that out
James
there.
say, James LePage say that it was just a quick conversation that I saw sort of scroll by on Twitter earlier today, where somebody couldn't sign up for a WPAI account, and I saw him go back and forth with the person saying like, "Oh, we've sort of closed down, we'll be sunsetting like the traditional products that we've been offering now that we've been acquired by Automattic." All of that is to say, Brendan, do you have what was your initial reaction when you heard Automattic had acquired them? Less you already kind of knew it was coming. And what do you think they're going to build for WordPress or for Automattic internally?
No, I mean, it's a good question. I think I was actually pretty happy with it. I was kind of, I would say, soured on AI for a couple of months and just kind of seeing people producing mediocre things with it. And I think that has sort of turned the page, and we're gonna see more and more actually good integrations with AI. At least that, again, this is one of those things where is it what I want or is it what's going to happen? I would like to see that happen where, I mean, for instance, you can spin up an agent with AI and have it talk with your entire GitHub code base, including subfolders. And it's pretty darn impressive, I think. And I think we're going to see hopefully that kind of leverage moving forward.
Brian,
I don't know what they're
you
going to build. I mean, that's a good question. Like, what are they going to actually build? What's that implementation going to look like? That I do not know. I wish I had a better prediction for you.
And Brian, I think I saw on Blue Sky you were playing with AI over the weekend. Did I get that right? You built something without having to think?
Yeah. I actually just did a blog post this morning about this, about whether I think AI is going to help us in open source, or whether I think there's been a lot of promise from WordPress. Number one, I think Matt's been clear that he doesn't really want AI in WordPress. He thinks operating systems are going to handle it. So it's more about getting WordPress ready for AI, but we're probably not going to see private, integrations with closed models and stuff literally inside of core. Also they acquired an AI person right around, the time where, VC money is not great and AI is where VC money is, make what you will of that. But ultimately, like, AI is really good at a lot of things right now, but maintaining 20-year-old software and building really good user experiences, which is where WordPress struggles the most, which is like the actual user experience of enjoying the software and writing in it. That's not something AI is really great at solving. It doesn't make great user experiences. So I think there's still going to be a huge gap where we're not going to see AI suddenly turn WordPress into this amazing thing. And we're not going to see, your neighbor, the plumber, build their own insane app that, makes them a bunch of money. I don't think any of that stuff is going to happen. But, it is going to lower the barrier to entry a little bit around experimentation and prototyping and stuff like that. And there's definitely like wins to have in that place. But I'm very like bullish on AI, and I think like a lot of great stuff is happening, but I don't think it's going to fundamentally change the desire that people have to put up their website for their nonprofit and list their event for next week that they want everyone to come and make a donation form. Those people aren't going to be asking a chatbot to do it, I don't think, anytime in the near future. So I think if your business is spinning up small, medium websites and stuff, I think you're still going to be fine. I think it's on you to leverage the AI tools, and don't think you're going to lose customers that they're going to be out there leveraging these tools that are still extremely complicated to use. Because I did spend some time messing around with AI and, Replit and VO and all that stuff. And, it generates code, but if you don't know how code works, it's not generating great code, and you run into a lot of bugs and a lot of, why isn't this doing the thing I'm asking it to and stuff. So I think we still have some time there. I'm not.
Well, I've got an app to sell
concerned.
you, Brian, because I know nothing about code. And let me tell you something, I built something really nice, and it can be yours on Flippa real soon. Courtney, let's wrap up your thoughts on AI, then we'll go into the lightning round. Again, folks who are listening, if you have your predictions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll talk about them.
I think AI can help drive the translation areas, especially of what we're writing. I think it could also help us with synthesizing. So devs will write their inline comments about what the code it is that they're writing does. I think that we can leverage AI to do that synthesizing work that it is actually strong at doing. It's not great at being creative. We know that. It's very bad at being creative, but it's great at synthesizing things. And so I look at it from the lens of technical documentation writing. And I would love to see it get better at, I don't know if someone wants to help me build this. I need to contact Jeff Mattson. He had a tool that just did an amazing work of taking screenshots when you need to update. For instance, you worked at Pagely previously, Matt, as well. Mattson had something that would scan all of the areas that needed screenshot revisions and quick change it. And that tooling coupled with AI could be amazing at getting the content out faster, at having documentation ready. That's not to say that I would trust it completely. You would still want some humans to test what it puts together. But I think that that area of diving deeper into having AI synthesize and present the information, it's not going to have as many typos. It's going to find our missing semicolons, that type of work for sure. I think that we'll just see an impact more in those areas and in translation services than we will necessarily in creativity or graphic design. It's not good with that.
No, it's not. But it is getting better. And my prediction in the blog post, I do feel like AI is coming for everything, including, of course, WordPress, but including your favorite to-do app. I think we will see a world where anyone can spin up their own sort of bespoke app, like a to-do app that just tailored exactly for them. Probably a few years off, but I wouldn't even say it's 10 years off. I would say it's coming rather quickly. Back to the wheel of destiny. Now we're going to go through the lightning round quickly, spin this wheel and see who's next for their prediction. My predictions are all done, but next up, right back to Courtney. Courtney, got another prediction for us?
Another prediction. Yeah. So in addition to contributions and things, I think that we'll see a big rise, not just in unofficial WordPress events, but attendance by WordPress people at events that are not WordPress focused. Up first for me personally will be CloudFest. Looking forward to that one. And that one's not exclusively WordPress. The one in Europe is a much bigger event than the one in North America. I think mingling between different open source projects is part of that too. Like for me, events and open source go hand in hand. The events I go to are about open source. But I think that experimenting and learning beyond our bubble is on the horizon.
Spin it again. If it lands on you, Courtney, you're going to have another one. I'm sorry. You guys.
Oh, man.
This is the pressured lightning round. And it's Mark Szymanski.
Nope,
Mark Szymanski, what do you
Pass.
I would say I had one written here. It's WordPress adjacent. Is I think because of everything that's going on, a lot of us here, like we're going to see more people very hungry for education and content around these types of things, like even more so than before, because I could totally see a scenario where you're somebody that watches a lot of content, you're not producing. I'm already seeing a lot of people actually produce more content that weren't previously like content creators, educators. So I see people getting into it, but the people that are on the fringe, the people that watch, they have agencies or they're freelancers and they watch some stuff. I think that they are probably like, oh man, what does Matt think or Brian think about like the whole thing that's going on? Like, are they going to go, oh my gosh, Matt just started a CMS Minute podcast. What, like, should I be concerned about like where I need to go and stuff like that? I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm just saying like, I think that the hunger for the education on not just WordPress, but the surrounding things, I do think that's going to be a huge benefit because we're going to have the opportunity to talk to these people about the different things that we're exploring. And then they're going to have the opportunity to explore with us as well. So I do think that it's going to be in WordPress, but it's also going to be in other things. So I think that that's going to be a really big thing in 2025 and moving forward.
We're already spinning the wheel before Mark's even done talking. We're going to land on Brendan.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple things written down here. One of them was that we're going to see WP Core subsume popular and important plugins like ACF. Oh, sorry, that's my 2024 prediction. Interesting. So that came true. I would imagine that we see, I mean, I'm kind of comparing this also to the acquisition of the AI agency team. And I could see that happening more. I think that open source benefits greatly from having third party tool creators and people working in that sphere. And I think that that's kind of what the trade-off is like when you build an open source, there's a possibility that that gets brought into the core or as a canonical plugin. And I think that is overall a good thing. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I think that's kind of how this gets built up through people's dedication to improving it, maybe even outside of Automattic. So that's my prediction.
Brian, we'll give it to you without having to spin the wheel. What do you got for us, friend?
My last prediction is I think this is a really kind of dumb metric that we measure market share, but I'm going to make a market share prediction. I just think it's not the most helpful metric, but it is what tends to get talked about. And I think that we are not going to, I don't think we're going to ever see that growth again in market share. I think we've hit like stasis and like a healthy number. And I think we're going to stay. My prediction is that we will never hit that 45, I think, because I think we're like 43, 44. I think we're going to stay around there through 2025. And I think that's going to be something that's going to shift how we think about the industry and how we think about, bringing in, money and investors and stuff, knowing that number is not going to keep climbing.
Yeah. The end of my blog post, I also put that now is the best time. I think like we're all in a general consensus that like, I don't think 2025 will be the year where like, oh my God, what do we do now? State of WordPress. But I also have mentioned that it's also a great time to invest in WordPress. I mean, I think when you see a lot of people exit something, it's it's time for taking a little bit of risk, and sticking around and reinvesting is a smart move, I think, for anyone, especially content and education, as quickly as we can get this stuff from AI. I think that the human side of it, the human side of everything, is going to be a premium. It's going to be something that people are actually going to want. That people are going to want. Can you imagine Mark Szymanski reading a blog post? Let's let that sink in for a second.
I can't.
That is actually written by a human, right? Like people are going to want that and desire that. 5 years from now, people are gonna be like, I'm sick and tired of this AI speaking to me or writing for me. Give it to me from a human. And I think that investing in WordPress, sticking around, educating, creating content is a smart thing to do. And obviously giving back to the project however you see fit, or however you see your own efforts making WordPress thrive. It works for me. It works for me. Even if you want to stay aside from the politics and everything else to get involved with WordPress. So I concur. Let's go one more round of kudos. Starting from my right, Mark Szymanski. Where can folks find you to say thanks?
Yeah, appreciate you having me, Matt. It was great chatting with all you guys. mjs.bio. Take a look at all my links are there and everything like that. You can find me on YouTube. Always trying to learn, try, and share everything I do.
Brendan O'Connell.
Oh, I think you're muted, Brendan.
Sorry. Brendan O'Connell here. You can find me at brendan-o'connell.com. I got a small YouTube channel. Going to be doing lots of automation stuff in this year, I think. Not going to abandon WordPress, but leverage WordPress and check out other avenues. So stick around.
Man with another small YouTube channel, Brian Cords.
Oh, that hurt. BrianCords.com. Look deeply. You can find my tiny YouTube channel there. I didn't know we were in a YouTube channel measuring contest, but thank you. And webmasters.fm for some fun interviews.
Courtney Robertson.
I also have a YouTube channel. You can find all of my socials at courtneyr.dev, Courtney Robertson. And you can find me often in the GoDaddy booth at WordPress events. You could find me hopefully near GoDaddy's headquarters in April as well, if anyone's heading to PressConf.
It's the WP Minute signing off today, the WPMinute.com/subscribe. Thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to share this episode with others on social media. And if you're interested in other platforms, other content management systems, CMSminute.com is another venture that'll be kicking off this year. It's going to be a limited series podcast presented by the fine folks at Ghost, hosted on Ghost. It used to be on Ghost. It was a fantastic experience, but I needed Gravity Forms to get some stuff done. But CMS Minute will be hosted on Ghost, the podcast, the newsletter, the blog. Check it out if you want to learn other CMS platforms. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. See you in the next one.